All right, how's everyone doing tonight? Where is my option to invite people? There we go. Today I'm going to do, as part of the Popeye um, what do you call it? The Popeye drawing challenge. Today I'm going to be doing this, drawing the seahag. Oh, I keep hitting that button. Sorry about the noise in the back. They're watching stuff. In the living room, which is all the way across the house. They're actually watching King of the Hill. So I was thinking of doing two different sea hags because there are two different styles of sea hag in the last 90 years. Sea hag was actually Popeye's first and longest running villain. What people don't know is that in the original comic strips created by E.C. Seagar, the most famous enemy of Popeye's is Bluto, but that's because of the animated features, Fleischer Studios, and then Famous Studios, and so on. But in actuality, E.C. Seagar's original Popeye comic strip, Bluto only showed up in one story arc, and that story arc only lasted maybe a month, I think, in the daily comic strips. And when he created the Sea Hag, he gave her kind of a little bit more of a traditional, I don't know if I should say traditional look, but he made her look slightly more human. Oops, you know what? I think he gave her skinny little fingers. And then it was in one of the story arcs with the Sea Hag that Alice the Goon first appeared. And originally we didn't know that Alice the Goon was a female. And it's kind of funny how it worked. Because well, I shouldn't say how it worked, but back in the 30s, the appearance of the Goon in the comic books actually frightened children. Acted as kind of like a boogeyman. So this is closer to the E.C. Seagar style of the seahag. He gave her more of a witch look. So this is the more traditional seahag. This is without looking at any reference material. It's just from memory, so it might not be an exact. Might not look exactly like the ECCR version, or even later versions. But it's you get the idea of it. I'm trying to find a better marker because I think my marker might be dying here. Now, and also in all fairness, the this version of seahag is quite a bit scarier looking than later versions. Like I said, she looks more like a witch. And in the original animated features, they didn't have seahag at all, which was a shame. They focused mainly on Bluto being the enemy, even though, like I said, Bluto only showed up for might not even been a full month. It might have only just been a couple of weeks at the most in the comic strips that ECCR created. But then there were other cartoonists who took over the Popeye comic strip after E.C. Seagar passed away in 1938. And some of them, I'm pretty sure, used the seahag. Now, seahag also acted as like a pirate in the comics, or in the comic strips. And in the comics, she also had a sister too, and that was before. I'm pretty sure it was before. What do you call it? The Wizard of Oz with the evil witch, the wicked witch of the East and West, and all that. Later in Popeye history, there was an artist who came about who took over, who was chosen to be the artist for the Popeye comic books, and his name was Bud Sagendorf. Bud Sagendorf, when he was a teenager, was actually the assistant to E.C. Seagar. So he helped create stories with E.C. Seagar for the Popeye comic strips. He wasn't allowed to get the job as the comic strip artist after Seagar died because because Bud Sagendorf was too young to take it over. But eventually he did take the comic strip over after Doc Winter and Bella Zaboli had left the strip. Those are two different artists at different times. So Bud Sagendorf was doing the comic book and the comic strip, and he was also he did a lot of the promotional artwork for Popeye, and that actually is the artist I grew up with really with Popeye, was Bud Sagendorf. And I didn't know that he was E.C. Seagar's assistant until 10, 15 years ago. And then there was another artist who came about in the 60s, I think, that also worked on Popeye comics, named George Wildman. And I think, if I remember right, he just passed away within the last 5 years. And his style is pretty good. It was kind of hit and miss kind of a situation, just like any artist. But when Bud Sagendorf took over the comic books, he added the seahag in quite a few stories. And he gave her this similar kind of a look. But over time, for some reason, he decided to change Haggie's look, and that's what this extra space is over here. Oh, I drew that hand huge. Hold on. Oh, let me erase the pencil line. I've asked online about it, and I've tried to look it up to see why Bud Sagendorf changed the style of the seahag from the original version to what I'm about to draw, and I've never really gotten a concrete answer. Oh, and there's her feet, by the way, for the two of you who show up. So the Bud Sagendorf version, like I said, started off looking like the classic style of the seahag. Still had, the black dress or whatever you want to call it, hunched over, but I think this version was hunched over even more. And this style is a lot more cartoony. And a little bit more recognizable because she shares some traits with another character or two. And this version actually looks a little bit more like the the sister of the seahag that E.C. Seagar had in the comic strip. Hello, Hannah. Thanks for coming. I feel like I still have to shrink down the head a little bit. For some reason, Bud Sagendorf decided to make Seahag with an even bigger chin than she already had over time, giving more of a resemblance of Popeye. And then, bring in a few little, oh, I forgot to do that with the original Haggy. Bring in some not moles, but some blemishes on the face. So you might be able to see the difference here between the two Haggies. And like I mentioned before, I am doing this live drawing as part of my what is it? Basically, my 7 days of Popeye celebration, because this ends on the 14th of January, which is no, I'm sorry. Wow, the 17th of January, so it's longer than. I went to school for art, not math. Leave me alone. But this is a drawing challenge, Popeye drawing challenge. Try to celebrate Popeye's 90th anniversary, because he was created in 1929 on January 17th. I also am doing this drawing challenge because it's also 2019 marks the anniversary of the creation of olive oil. 100 years of olive oil, starting in the comic strip Thimble Theater. She was created in 1919, Popeye, and it was created in Thimble Theater comic book or comic strip in 1929. So she turns 100, he turns 90. And one of the distinctions between the two hags is that every so often you'll see Seahag in the Bud Sagendorf style with green skin. And of course my watercolor pen does not want to work. I'm also participating in another drawing challenge that I did not create to honor Stan Lee during the entire month of January. They call it Stanuary Lee 2019, to honor Stan Lee by drawing a Marvel character a day during the month of January. And there's a list every day. By they I mean I have no idea who it is, but there's whoever created it assigned a Marvel character to every day of the month. What was it? On the 1st of January, it was Spider-Man, which Stan Lee and Steve Ditko co-created. On the second day, I can't remember what the second day was, but I'm pretty sure it was not a Stan Lee created character. Like yesterday was Cable from X-Force and New Mutants, the Deadpool movie, Deadpool 2, that is. That was not created by Stan Lee. Cable was created by Rob Liefeld and I do believe Fabian, I don't know how to say his last name, Nicieza, something like that. Now I'm coloring the face in because the watercolor brushes and watercolors in general tend to mix with the Sharpie markers. Normally I'd take more time to color this, but being that I'm on camera, I want to kind of go a little bit faster so as not to be too boring. Which I'm sure most of you are already saying too late. You are boring the crap out of me. But at least you get to listen to my smooth, sultry voice. There. Wow, 24 minutes already on this. Oy. And then for the classic seahag, she has Caucasian skin. So I'm using a Copic marker. But I'm also drawing on regular printer paper, so it's not the best quality for Copic marker. Or anything really for that matter. But it does eventually start to look better, the color on the paper, once it dries. And I like that it's looking a little pasty on the on screen, because that way she has kind of a sickly look to her. I might add some yellow to her teeth so she doesn't look too also just to make her look a little bit worse. Oh yeah. All right, and then I still have to add some hair here or there, a blemish here and there. Something tells me that the seahag. Nah, never mind, I won't say it. Mixed company. And even the Copic marker was blending with the Sharpie. And I'm trying to decide if I want to do a live video for every day of the Popeye challenge or not. I know I feel a lot more comfortable doing Popeye characters live. So I've got I've got 35 years of experience drawing Popeye and Popeye characters. But if like today on the Stanuary Lee challenge, the character of the day is Wolverine. I'm not sure if I feel brave enough to tackle that. If I did, it would be a longer video. This is coming out more pink than it is red. Now, if you have any little kids around, like nieces or nephews or grandkids or little kids of your own, there is a new Popeye on YouTube. It's like the official Popeye YouTube channel. It's Popeye's Island Adventures, and it's made specifically for like ages 5 and under or 6 and under. Like I've been saying, it's not your grandpappy's Popeye. And the idea of it is to get more interest from a younger crowd into Popeye. The old curmudgeons like me aren't that happy with it, but it's mainly because it's not our classic character or characters. And if you don't speak English, that's fine, because it's actually made as a pantomime. So there's no talking. There might be some, like, the characters giggle or they grunt and stuff like that, but there's music. Okay, and then drop my pencils. Oh, you know when I should have set this up was during the president's speech. That way half the country has something better to do, which is avoid both of us. I do enjoy these Copic markers. And I just might not be using the watercolor pens correctly, but once they start to lose their color, they're kind of useless. But I might be using them for too large of an areas. Also, if you wanted to get a Popeye fix, AMC, the cable channel AMC, has they run Popeye shorts every so often. The original Fleischer Studios ones, the black and whites, which are the best ones. They don't. I don't know if there's a set time that they play it, but I just have my DVR set to record Popeye, and it records every day or every week. All right, so now oops. And feel free to ask any questions or make comments. I think it's more interesting that way. Otherwise, I'm trying to figure out something I can talk about, or there's dead silence. Oh, and I should also mention that the cartoonist who's the assistant for the Popeye creator, Bud Sagendorf. He worked on the Popeye comic strip and some of the Popeye merchandising up until his death in what I want to say it was 1994, I think, when he passed away. And at that point, the comic strip was taken over by I want to say Bobby London, but he actually did the comic strip earlier than that. So maybe Bud Sagendorf didn't do the comic strip until his death. Bobby London, he was considered an underground cartoonist, created a character called Dirty Duck. I think he did some artwork for Playboy magazine in the 70s and 80s. But he was the cartoonist for the Popeye comic strip in the 80s and early 90s until he got fired for creating storylines that were too controversial for Popeye. And I've read his entire run of it, and they're a little bit of dated at this point, some of them, but not all of them. Like there's references to politicians from the 80s and stuff like that, and like televangelists who people don't know anymore. But for the most part, it was his run was one of the best runs on the comic strip, but he got too risky, and the owners of Popeye King Features Syndicate fired him. I think it was King Features, either that or it was William Hearst Publishing. But now the comic strip still shows up in some comic book, or not comic book, some newspapers. But for the most part, you would see it online on the King Features website. And they do basically reruns of the Bud Sagendorf run. But the Sunday edition, the full color, the full page, full color edition is drawn by a cartoonist named Hy Eisman. And he's been working on the strip since Bobby London was fired, I do believe. And he has his own take on, his own style on Popeye. And he's still working on it to this day. He's in his 90s. 80s or 90s. I'm pretty sure 90s, though. And of course, it'd be my dream to be able to work on a Popeye comic book or comic strip, or even merchandising, whatever. But one of the problems is that I don't have a lot of creativity when it comes to drawing. I'm too committed to the original look of Popeye and the classic looks. And sometimes the companies want to have a fresh take on characters, something that hasn't been seen before. And I just don't have that kind of creative juice. I've got the mentality, if it ain't broke, don't fix it when it comes to some things. Oh, and I gotta do the seahag's ponytail. For the longest time, I didn't realize that was supposed to be a ponytail. I don't know what color her hair is either. Oops, you know what? Gotta bring her some miscellaneous hairs. Gotta give this Haggy some shadow at her feet. I know it's kind of hard to see the picture with the reflection of the light, but hopefully you get the gist of it. Maybe add a little bit of shadow for some dimension. Oh yeah, I like that. I don't know if that color will work for that. I'm afraid to use the other green because it might be too dark. And too dead. Good gravy. There we go. I like that. A little bit more. Adding a little bit of shadow. See, I'm trying to mimic the light source from here and here. Since the light source apparently is the way I have it set up here is coming towards traditional seahag. Man, all my videos end up being so long. It's ridiculous. I don't know why people let this happen. And like I said, when E.C. or Bud Sagendorf took over the Popeye comic books, his seahag looked like this seahag here. But for some reason over time he decided to give the seahag more of a Popeye look. The giant chin, more hunched over. Does look a lot more cartoony. Maybe that's why he did it. Maybe it was easier for him, or it matched the style of the rest of the characters more in his eye. It's hard to say. Just like in Marvel Comics, Black Widow, when she first appeared, she had she was wearing fishnet stockings on her legs and her arms and chest. Some type of like a bustier, a weird mask, and black hair. And then later in the 60s, they some artist, I don't know who it was, gave her a makeover. So she she was a redhead with a black, basically leather outfit. No, and the original Black Widow also had a cape. And she wore earrings that had the letter B as earrings. Oh, you know what? I originally was going to sign this, and then I decided to add shadow. Or throw shade, as the children like to say these days. So, Jason Moto. 2019 Popeye channel. Wow, I'm really bad at writing. And then this was the EC Cigar. And this is the all right. Well, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Bring this down a little bit. I was gonna put the seahag's vulture in the center, looking confused, but I've been on for long enough, I think. I might finish the vulture later. Bernard is his name. And of course, I had fun because I'm drawing Popeye characters. So everybody have a good night, and I might be doing another video tomorrow. So if you're interested or know anyone who's interested, feel free to invite them. Thank you very much, and have a good night.